Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you today on a chilly Tuesday. I'm really hoping that the chilly part is a thing of the past in very little time. It's been a bitterly cold 2 months here, single digit cold, bitterly, just relentlessly so. And that is very strange because Boston is squarely in the middle of the new tropics for the New World, which means that it is hot, humid weather here for 10 months out of 12. So cold is not anything I want to experience again. But it is a little bit milder today, and we've got some mail, starting with a periodical, but not just any periodical. No, not at all. This, in its lovely plastic wrapping here, is Big Canoe News from Northern Georgia. Smoke signals, Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia, a multi-section, very professionally done, full-color newspaper. We don't have a whole lot of distribution. Our distribution is not really big, but nevertheless, we have news, 2 sections of news at the front of the paper, arts and entertainment, whole bunch of local notices, and people with parrots. We have people with parrots, but also Big Canoe News has a dedicated book section, which is rare. That very, very seldom happens. That is not common at all in newspapers 10 times the size and 1,000 times the distribution. Our circulation is not big. And I think that's a source of joy. That would be a source of joy to me anyway. But I am the editor of that book section. I am the editor of a print newspaper book section. Never thought it would happen again in my life. It's kind of rare. Most newspapers don't have book sections. Even the ones that do any kind of book coverage at all, it's very sporadic. Our book section looks lovely. See, there I did a column on upcoming books. Look at how lovely that looks. Look at how wonderfully that is designed and laid out. And there I am in all my stenciled glory, looking at some forthcoming books for this month. And then we have reviews. Let's see, what ran this month? One of my reviewers reviewed Ted Bell's Monarch, Ryan Steck's continuation of Ted Bell's stories about Alex Hawke. And one of my reviewers reviewed a nice long review of Raising Hare, this new book about someone who raises a leveret into a hare, and they have an odd, semi-friendly, semi-wild relationship with each other. Let's see here. What can we read from this review? This quiet observational patience is the main joy of Raising Hare, an absence of cloying sentimentality that often very beautifully counterposes the hardness of the natural world with moments of wonder. The hare comes through its door flap out of the night of lashing rain. The hare is soaked and dries itself by standing on its hind legs and spinning around, sending a light shower of droplets around the room while Dalton watches. The hare's own leverets, safe inside the house, bob their tiny heads when they're exploring, and the rest of the natural world is marvelously captured. So a nice long review, and look how beautifully that is designed. You would not be able to tell that is not in the Washington Post. So that is why I get Big Canoe News in the mail, and maybe why you might want to get it too. Feel free to subscribe to Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia, and keep in mind, what did I cover this time around? Red Scare, Inventing the Renaissance, Good Soil, the Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia. Keep in mind that if you decide that you want to subscribe to Big Canoe News because of the book section, edited by yours truly, a print newspaper book section editor, after all these years, I actually managed to get a last act, one more chance at doing such a thing. If you subscribe to Big Canoe News for such a thing, be sure to drop a note saying that that's your reason. Like I always say, I'm on pretty good terms with the folks at Big Canoe, but votes of confidence are always appreciated by have gone, will travel, itinerant freelance editor. So that's our periodical. And then we have two packages. One of the packages strikes me as a violation of rule number one on this channel. Rule number one is don't send me a book. Not blind. Perfectly happy to send me a book if you ask me ahead of time. Sure. And also the easiest way to get me a book is to call in store credit at the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston. As you all know, if you watch this channel, I go there all the time. Store credit there will not go amiss, and you will learn what I get with it because I will haul it on this channel. But one of these things has international shipping. It seems to come from a person rather than a publisher. I don't get any books from overseas from publishers because my remit is the U.S. book market. I don't deal with overseas stuff at all. So let's see what this is. Why is this coming to me? What is this? Okay. Huh. All right. Well, we've got a novel here. This is called Yankee Land by Lacey Feuer. Rather nice. Look at the nice little details there. Is this indie published? Kohler Books. That's an indie published group, is it not? Well, let's see what we have here. This is kind of eye-catching. This is going to be an 1895 paperback. I'm assuming it's out already. Let's see here. Fiercely independent and passionate, Bridget feels hindered by her family and strict society of her small Irish town in the early 1900s. Been there. Know what it's like. Bridget and her cousin Molly, who is more like a sister, dream of a new life in a seemingly unlimited land of opportunity called Yankee Land, America. Bridget gets her chance when she emigrates with her husband Ben and her brother James, while Molly stays in Ireland. But when Bridget's quest to have a child leads her to seek unconventional help, her mental stability is questioned. She's soon caught up in a patriarchal medical establishment she has little power to fight. The new life in America Bridget dreamed about takes a drastic turn. Decades later, her grandnieces discover a sack full of letters between the two cousins. She unravels the story and vows to tell the tale of what really happened to Bridget in Yankee Land. So here you have, on the front, you see the letter has been opened by censor. So you get a hint of what some of the conflict is going to be like there. But this is one of those split time frame pieces of historical fiction that are so popular now. A lot of you probably have lots of favorites along those lines. So the grandnieces are trying to piece together the story of what happened. I wonder if we'll also get the story. I'm sure we will. This is too long to be otherwise. Yeah, we get letters, bits of letters, but we also get Bridget's own story told directly in her real time. So who's the author when she's at home? She must have sent this to me herself. Lucy Feuer is a native of Dublin, a graduate of the University College Dublin, and has enjoyed a career in banking and finance. Following her passion for storytelling, she has shifted her focus to writing. Yankee Land is her debut novel and was inspired by the discovery of her grand-aunt's letters. Amazing. Okay, there you go. So there you go. Any of you who are, I know quite a few of you really like Irish immigration stories, Irish immigration fiction. So there's a book for you. Well, great. All right. Well, it is a violation of rule number one, but it sounds really good, so I'm not really complaining. Then we'll move on to this next package, which I'm sure is from a publisher. Rule number one for publishers is quite different. Rule number one for publishers is send Steve everything. So what is this that we've got here? Pub sheet is static electric to the sheet. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, that took a bit of fighting. Let's hope the rest of it behaves itself. What have we got here? Blurb, 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 blurb. Okay, this comes out on April 1st as a hardcover. This is by Natalie Lawrence, and it is Enchanted Creatures, Our Monsters, and Their Meanings. And this is Natalie Lawrence's debut. Two debuts. One fiction, one nonfiction. This is a fascinating journey through 15,000 years of human imagination and mythology, exploring the incredible variety of monstrous creatures we have created and what they can tell us about ourselves. From ancient mythology to modern science fiction, we have had to confront the monsters that lurk in the depths of our collective imagination. They embody our anxieties and our irrational terrors, giving form to what we don't wish to know or understand. For millennia, monsters have helped us to engage the extraordinary complexity of our minds and deal with the challenges of being human. It's a book about monsters. It comes out in April. Fantastic. All right, the Natalie Lawrence, let's see, is a writer, illustrator, and researcher. She has a degree in natural sciences and received a PhD in the history of philosophy of science from Cambridge University for her work on early modern exotic monsters. She published Planta Sapiens with Paco Calvo in 2022 and her first solo book, Feathers and Eggshells, when she was a teenager. She co-wrote Planta Sapiens. How did I blank on her name? Considering how much that book has haunted me. That book is haunting. It is really haunting. She lives in London with her curiosity cabinet and the occasional atlas moth. Okay. All right. So I'm curious to know, what kinds of monsters do we have in here? This has some illustrations, including full chapter illustrations and spot illustrations. But are we going to be able to find out what we have here? The Horned Sorcerer, dragons, Minotaur, Snake Woman, Grendel, Leviathans, Scaly Devils, Terrible Lizards. So not, for instance, Sauron. Or, when you mentioned... Oh, well, Tolkien does get a few mentions in here, so maybe. Okay, I'm assuming... that J.K. Rowling will just be unpersoned. Yeah, there's no Rowling, no Voldemort. But Manticores, The Matrix, Medusa, Stephen King gets a few mentions. Oh, this sounds fascinating. Just fascinating. Okay. All right, so April 1st. I will jot that on the sheet here, and we'll do the business. So there you go. 2 debuts. 1 historical fiction and 1 a study of monsters. A solo debut. This author has also took a hand in Planta Sapiens, which I loved and also hated, which has been on my mind this whole time. Can plants actually think and feel pain somehow? So 2 debuts plus Big Canoe News in Northern Georgia, the very latest issue, full of bookish extravaganza. So that's the mail for today. Nice, discreet, in and out, nobody gets hurt mail. We'll wrap this up before we get into trouble, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.